go to Latin America now. New developments in the nearly 3-year-long peace dialogue taking place between FARC guerrillas and the Colombian government in Havana, Cuba. To report to you, the chief government negotiator, Humberto de la Calle, made strong declarations over the weekend, blaming the FARC for increased tensions in Colombia. He said this could jeopardize the peace process. Meanwhile, the FARC continues to push for a bilateral ceasefire, something the government has so far refused, but now suggests it might accept. And for more now on the peace process, we turn to our correspondent there in Colombia, Natalia Margarita. Natalia, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Help us make sense of these latest declarations about the dialogue. What more can you tell us about La Calle's comments?
Well, to make sense of these latest declarations of De La Calle, it is important to take into account two main circumstances currently surrounding the peace negotiations. The first one is that both parties involved in the negotiation, Cody, are currently discussing one of the most complicated and difficult and challenging issue in the negotiation agenda, and it is the victims' point. This victims' point include also the issue of transitional justice and the issue of truth-seeking. So to put a little bit of context into this, we need to understand that it's been almost a year without discussing this issue of victims without leading to a final agreement on that issue. So of course, this has added lots of tension to the negotiations, but not just among the peace negotiators right there in Havana, but also lots of tension and uncertainty among the population here in Colombia, that it's eagerly wanting to have finally an agreement on the issue of victims. That's the first circumstance. But secondly, we also have the fact that they are discussing this challenging issue among heightening tensions due to the latest escalation of the conflict after a bombing attack by the military something more than 1 month ago, and the decision of the FARC to suspend the 5-month-long unilateral ceasefire. So, of course, discussing a very complicated issue, and on the other side, discussing that issue among an escalation of the conflict in Colombia will obviously put lots of tension into the peace process. And what experts that we have been talking here said regarding the latest statements of De La Calle is that those statements rightly reflect that those heightening tensions.
And Natalia, the government negotiator also recently said that the peace process was coming to an end. So the question is, what does he mean by that? Does he mean that an agreement is near? Is that what he believes, or do we know what he means by that?
Well, not necessarily. If we take just the statement of De La Calle, he said that the peace agreement might be coming to an end for good or for bad. This means that we can be reaching an agreement that would be for good, or also the peace negotiations might end because they are not able to reach an agreement. But what social organizations here, what political leaders we've been talking to have said is that the important issue right now is to continue to call on the government to agree on a bilateral ceasefire, so that we can, in fact, close these peace negotiations for good, meaning to reach a final peace agreement. That is what the majority of Colombians here are looking forward.
Well, Natalia, there are some signs that perhaps the government is now open to that bilateral ceasefire. We will certainly see. Natalia Margarita reporting from Colombia. Thank you.
Back to you, Cody.